What's good, y'all? It's your boy Ross back at it again with another video. So we're gonna check out 10 WWE jobbers who became world champion. Now, we've seen it time and time again. Sometimes they may be like a JAG security official. For those who don't know who JAGs or what JAG stands for, just another guy. Or sometimes maybe just another girl. Who knows? But they may be a security official, you know, someone there to break up a fight and get tossed around, and they may end up being a future world champion. Or maybe they end up just starting off as a jobber and work their way up, get into certain situations, and they become a top champion. It happens. It's a beautiful thing to see someone from the beginning of their career as some some flunky or somebody that's there to, you know, take bumps to being the guy in the company or being the top person or the top girl in the company. So we're gonna check this out. Appreciate all the love and support, man. The jobbers becoming world champions. I love to see it.
Sadly, it has done the round, so we all know what it means. Enhancement talent is better. It takes everybody to make a wrestling show work. Some people feel like getting put in such a position is the end of their career, though. But no, in fact, it can turn out this is for the best. When you smash through the ceiling, you have a lovely story to tell.
Yeah.
And who was able to make this leap from zero to hero? Well, I am Simon Miller, and here are the facts. Number 10, EC3. Wind your clocks back to this one. Before Ethan Carter III had chosen such a name, he was in NXT, and he was called Derek Bateman.
Really?
Actually sounds like somebody from The Simpsons. This wasn't the NXT we know and love today, as it was still finding its feet. But yes, from 2009 to 2013, this is where the future EC3 plied his craft.
Wow.
There wasn't really too much to this Bateman character either, and mostly it felt like he was there to put others over. Like many, he was then let go, but really that was for the best. He soon arrived in TNA, where he took on the character of Dixie Carter's nephew, and yes, that's where the name came from. It was an astute decision, as in June 2015, he won the TNA World title, and he had a 101-day reign. He stayed at the top of the card too, so look at that. EC did prove everybody wrong, if you did indeed doubt him. If you didn't, you totally smashed it. Well done, Gold Star. His second round in WWE seemed like he was going to benefit from this too, but it kind of did in NXT. Then he got called up to the main roster, and it went really badly.
Horribly.
A talking point forever. I don't think he was actually ever really given a proper chance. Number 9.
I don't think he was either. You know, we know that that was a different regime at the time, so I don't think he was. But hey, once again, started off as someone to not really pay attention to and end up becoming a TNA World Champion. You love to see it.
It's incredible. The peak of ECW is still spoken about today, although the stories of some wrestlers have been lost. You can still see how many of them rose to the top though, because Paul Heyman is doing the same thing right now in WWE. You take an individual, you push their strengths, and you hide their weaknesses. It's how anyone in charge should operate, and man did just incredible benefit from that. If you do go back to 1993 and 1994, you will see him as PJ Walker in the WWF, and he was getting beaten a lot. He must have done a decent job though, as it turned into a full-time contract, where he was transformed into the Portuguese man of war, Aldo Montoya. No, don't overthink that one. It was just a crazy idea. Aldo sort of just hung out and played Nintendo for a while before he did arrive in ECW in 1997. No one really knew what to expect, but as well as a good tag team with Lance Storm, in April 2000, Justin had enough momentum and bam, he became the ECW World Champion.
Oh, wow.
He held on to this until the company went down in 2001 too, and really WWE should have used him better when he came back into the fold.
You know how that goes.
We're intrigued to see what we could do with this guy. Sadly, before long, he got lost in the shuffle. Number 8, Britt Baker. In 2016, after a brand split, Nia Jax was put on Raw and told she was going to destroy people for a while. A tale as old as time itself. Let's get the monster over by letting them be a monster. It happened to Braun Strowman too, which is when James Ellsworth became a thing.
Yeah.
But somebody on the other side was indeed Britt Baker. She got mauled on the 25th of July show. Baker must have done all right because she was in somebody's mind in 2018 with NXT. She was hired to do the same thing for one Shayna Baszler. Outside of all that though, she was also making noise.
What's really crazy is I didn't even know that. I think I had seen this a while back on Twitter. Someone had mentioned or posted clips of her being in WWE at the time, so I didn't know. You know, obviously it wasn't meant for me to know because she was just there to be a jobber or enhancement talent. But fast forward, you know, early in AEW's like inception and how things were going on, she was like the face of the women's division in AEW at one point.
On the indie scene, when of course she was involved in the first All In, she was hired by AEW and bam. A quick switch to being the heel saw her become the women's champion in 2021. Britt was even able to do away with the ghost of Isaac Yankem by proving you could be a wrestling dentist, and during this time, man, she was super over.
Yeah.
Sure, it's all gone a bit weird recently, but at the time, what a flipping 180. Number 7, Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss herself has talked about this. When Sasha Banks, Charlotte Flair, and Bayley were getting all the praise for changing women's wrestling in WWE, she was a little bit of an outlier, had a cheerleader gimmick, and it didn't feel like something that was going to translate to Raw or SmackDown. In late 2016, Bliss did get the call up from NXT, and doesn't it just go to show? A tweak here, a change there, make sure the machine gets behind you, and boom. Before long, she was the SmackDown Women's Champion, and the way she presented herself was perfect for the main roster. But Little Miss Bliss persona just worked. Even when she lost that title, she won a bunch more and proved she had legs too. We all remember the Bray Wyatt-inspired gimmick change, and even if it wasn't everybody's cup of tea, go look at the numbers. I do believe she smashed it. If you continue your research, you will see it was a big shift because her NXT record was just lose, lose, lose.
Yeah.
Even when she was elevated, you could kind of tell it wasn't going to go her way. The move to the blue brand changed all of that, and Bliss never...
Yeah, she's literally one of the most popular female wrestlers in the company. Even when she wasn't, hadn't been in the company in a while, people love Alexa Bliss, bro. That's the crazy thing. I'm not the biggest fan of her in-ring style, but I can appreciate that people are fans of her. And, she's not bad on a microphone, in my opinion. I think she's good at being able to, especially with the Bray Wyatt stuff, before she started really taking all the powers from Bray at the time, she was really compelling. You kind of was buying into her kind of being mind warped by Bray Wyatt and following his leadership. And, I kind of appreciate that. She really honed into in her acting skills in that. She was pulling off the creepy stuff really well. So I think more people are just fans of her as a person and her character, more so than her in-ring work. Not to say people don't like it, but the thing about wrestling is when you have such an amazing character, it can kind of make up for your shortcomings in the ring. We see it all the time. If your character is good, you have something that people are interested and buy into, you kind of got a winning recipe there.
Never look back. She was very important to the product from 2016 through to 2021, and as and when she does come back, I don't doubt this will continue. She went and figured it out. Number 6, Liv Morgan. 2015 was a totally different world for WWE. I mean, that's obvious, you don't need a time machine for that, but back then, Eva Marie was being pushed huge in NXT, whereas Liv Morgan didn't even get a name. When they fought, most people referred to her as the local competitor. With a bit of research, it turns out her name was Marley, and of course, she was quickly dispatched. Naturally. It soon changed when the Riot Squad was born, and while that was up and down, Liv Morgan established herself as somebody who had potential. The Harley Quinn tie-in helped her, but there was more. And yes, sure, there was some awkward stuff with that Lana Rusev storyline.
Yeah.
The 2022 babyface push didn't work, mostly because it was bungled by the powers that be. But you know the deal. WWE used her unfortunate injury to their advantage, turned Morgan heel, and her 2024 was excellent. Won the Women's World title, had that great relationship with Dominic Mysterio, totally reinvented herself. Liv plays back up to nobody now either, and there's no reason this can't continue. Act is working and she's damn good at it. Surely there is going to be loads more with this character going forward. I mean, we've only touched the top of the iceberg, so let's keep it going.
Her turning heel, justifiably so, it's been the best thing that she's done in her career. Deadass. This is the best Liv Morgan has looked, in my personal opinion, character-wise and in ring. The way she got busted open this past Monday night, kept going. She's tough. I was always, critical of her work in the ring, but I will say I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it a lot more than I have in the past, and she definitely has improved. She's really good on her facials. She sells like her facial expressions when she get hit with moves. She sells fantastically, and she's such an annoying heel. Her laugh is so awful, but it works. It works. She's great. She's one of the top women in WWE, which is crazy to say, but just it goes to show the progression of someone. And you can clearly tell she loves the business, bro. And she's doing some of the best stuff she's ever done in her career, in my opinion. So.
Number 5, AJ Styles. AJ Styles was ahead of his time. Not just in how he changed what in-ring wrestling could be, but in the early 2000s, he was offered a WWE developmental deal, and he turned it down. Not only would it have uprooted his wife, who was about to become a teacher, but AJ felt like the company wouldn't use him correctly. He had to go out there and make a name for himself. Styles was already affiliated with the WWE.
Which was just probably a really smart decision, too. Because if he would have signed, I don't think we would have gotten the AJ Styles that we have now. The AJ Styles that was having some classic and fantastic matches in TNA to make him a household name. That's crazy. Turning down the top company only for years later to return or get that opportunity and become the WWE champion. It's fucking fantastic. You can't really write a better story than that.
Because he would appear on Heat and Metal between 2001 and 2002. But of course, around that time is when TNA was born. They saw something in this man, and you know the rest.
Yep.
Even though he was one of their most important assets, he still actually wasn't used correctly. And sure, he became the world champion, but I tell you, he should have been the franchise player. It's why he would leave for Japan after getting lowballed on money, and this worked again. Styles somehow got even better, and in 2016, the mega WWE contract arrived. AJ made a surprise debut in the Royal Rumble. Even then, there was trepidation because Vince McMahon never understood such performers. The cream always rises to the top. He did such a good job, he won multiple world titles, and if you had followed his entire career, this was incredible. If you do want to pull it back just to the headlines, it meant AJ Styles turned down OVW, and 20 years later was flying higher than most. Such a cool story, and why he's a generational talent. The man changed the game.
Hey, I hope it looks like they're teasing AJ Styles and Braun Breaker. Hey, I'm all for it. I know oh my God, I know they're gonna kill it. No, they're gonna kill it.
For Bryan Danielson. So I think most people know this story, but it's still quite the tale. For Daniel Bryan, as he was known in WWE, defied all the odds and proved that no matter what Vince McMahon thinks, you can't outdo the fans. Even when he was first hired, not many thought he'd be used correctly because he was quote-unquote too small. Saying that today sounds ridiculous. If you go back to 2000 to 2003, you will see Bryan pop up in many enhancement matches in WWF, and trust me, even the biggest fan of the indie scene didn't go, oh wow, there's a future WrestleMania main eventer. It's just not how WWE did things. The American Dragon also lost the likes of Lance Cage, Sean O'Haire, and even John Cena as he was making his way to superstardom. To be honest, I think Bryan was just happy to be used. Fast forward to 2013, and he was so over it became a war between the audience and management, which ended when he did indeed close the show at Mania 30.
Iconic moment.
It's just the best story. At first, he was most definitely seen as low on the totem pole by WWE, though. You can't pretend otherwise. They were just totally incorrect, and thank goodness it all worked out. Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson inspired a whole generation.
Facts. And he became one of Vince's favorites. Ironically, he became one of Vince's favorites. Who would have thought Vince McMahon would have favored this guy, Daniel Bryan? You want to know why? Because he made him stupid amounts of money. And he was proven wrong. He was proven wrong about him.
Number 3, Jeff Hardy. It is so crazy to try and process this, but Jeff Hardy once faced Scott Hall in an enhancement match. Hall was a big fan of him as well, and that is how long Jeff has been around.
That's crazy.
That doesn't make much sense. I would also include Matt in this list because he would become a TNA champion and an ECW champion, but of course his brother went a step further because despite sneaking into the company as a 16-year-old and losing to everyone, he would indeed become the WWE champ. Wasn't a fluke either. Fans were desperate for it. It was June 1994 when he was beaten by Razor Ramon, which sums it up, and his name was Keith Davis. Amazing. He lost to King Kong Bundy, which is so insane it will keep you up at night, when somebody must have realized it was time. The Hardys became a thing, and let's face it, they changed the tag team scene forever. By 2008, Jeff's popularity couldn't be ignored, and he did become the WWE champion and a 2-time world heavyweight champion. If it wasn't for his personal issues, I tell you, his adventure could have reached even greater heights. I tell you, my friends, people love this guy. Even with all that, though, he still went higher than most thought, given at one point, people saw him as a beanpole being destroyed by new generation talent. I don't get how he's still going, given the wear and tear on his body, but hey, that is the secret sauce, and it's built right into his brain.
Yeah, man. Outside of the personal issues, if he could have been, have been able to manage that, bruh, he definitely would have had a decent run at the top of the card. Because there was nobody around that time period, 2007, 2008, 9, there was nobody more over than Jeff Hardy, man.
Number 2, Jon Moxley. Look at these images side by side. It's the same story as before. Nobody thought this red-headed menace was going to become the WWE champion.
Nope.
This is when the soon-to-be Dean Ambrose was trying to make a name for himself as he appeared on WWEC shows in 2006 and 2007. He had to grind for a few more years, but in 2011 he did indeed get a developmental deal. Step 1. It was quite the ride, as by 2012 he was debuting on WWE TV as one-third of The Shield. This wasn't your run-of-the-mill arrival either. Along with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, management had decided they were going to push these guys. Within a few months, they were a featured act. After they split in 2014, Ambrose almost became a loose cannon type. And while WWE did indeed make him do jokes, he was able to fight through those too. 2 years later, as the Shield played past the parcel with the WWE title, it was Dean who walked away with the gold.
Yeah.
The man had done it. We soon learned he was most definitely somebody who marched to the beat of his own drum, which made him even more interesting, especially because he left WWE by his own accord. This wasn't his type of wrestling, so he walked out the door.
Yeah.
Talk about integrity. He also became the AEW World Champion, so go and look at that first picture again. Not sure anybody predicted that, which is the point of this list. Anybody can make it, and good. Screw rhyme and reason. I mean, it would be rubbish. It would be the other way around. Number 1,
Yeah, he became the top champion in 2 different companies, bro. It's dope to see. I know people are not a fan of what they got doing, what they got them doing now with the whole Death Rider stuff. People are not the biggest fans of that now. But the fact that he was, came out there, definitely certified jobber with the hair and everything to become the WWE champion. Well, to be a part of one of the biggest factions of all time, to become the WWE champion, to leave on his own accord and become the top guy in the in WWE's competition at the time. I mean, there's still somewhat competition, because obviously they're still on television, and obviously they're trying to put on the best shows possible to counteract WWE. But to become the opposition's top champion at that time, it's something to, really appreciate, what I'm saying? Whether you like him or not, you can appreciate the grind and the struggle and the accomplishment, so.
Foley. This one is a bit unfair, but always remember what Vince McMahon said to Jim Ross after JR finally convinced his boss to hire Mick Foley. McMahon, with his usual grace, made it clear he was only doing it to prove the idea would fail.
Wow.
Of course, he was totally wrong, and Foley would go on to win the WWF title multiple times, and it was awesome. Talk about a guy that was easy to support. Even as a heel, he just gave everything. We all know his bumps were next-level bonkers. Way back in 1986, Foley also got a few bookings as an enhancement talent in the World Wrestling Federation. I mean, on Wrestling Challenge, Kamara, of all people, defeated him in about 39 seconds. The Bulldog and Hercules also took their time whooping his ass, and Mick talked about that. Apparently, Davey Boy Smith kicked the life out of him. Of course, nothing would slow him down, and not only was he a success in WCW, but he did an ECW before getting his WWF shot, and look at the rest. Mankind was the reason The Undertaker was able to get things going again. He needed a viable opponent. Bingo. So if you are just starting on your wrestling journey, go and look what Foley did. If you only replicate half of it, you are going to be on to a winner. Know of any other wrestlers that circumvented your expectations to become a world champion? Make sure you let us know in the comments below and click that video on the screen for yet more wrestling information.
Hey, I like this, man. This was a dope video to watch because it basically shows the moral of this is to don't give up on yourself. I know that sounds cliche, but don't give up. These people didn't give up. They kept going even when they were probably told, hey, you're probably not going to make it, or, people didn't believe in them. It's kind of hard to not want to give up when management doesn't believe in you. But these stories, they ended the way they did because the person didn't give up. If they would have gave up, didn't believe in themselves, didn't bet on themselves, we wouldn't have these iconic champions. So if you take this outside of wrestling, if anything you're trying to achieve in life, do not give up. If you have breath, you have life, that means you have an opportunity to get one step closer to your goals. I'm a living testament. Dove is a living testament. We kept doing the content thing because we wanted to, not do our 9 to 5s anymore. We felt like we had a bigger calling, and we never gave up. Even when we wanted to, even when it wasn't looking good, even when it didn't make sense financially, we still kept pushing through. And I want to say that to y'all. So hopefully this video inspired you to keep pushing through, because you never know what you could end up being. If you give up, then you that's it. But if you keep pushing through, you may be able to reach that goal a lot sooner than you thought you would have. So comment down below. Let me know some other wrestling related videos y'all want me to check out. Definitely will. Appreciate all the love, support. Road to 150K. Appreciate y'all kicking with me. See y'all next one. Peace.